It's a first for City News that we have Fire Chief Ed Davis and Police Chief Jason Stachey here on the program together. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, Terry.
Today we're going to go behind the scenes and explore the ways that police and fire work together. Their collaboration may run deeper than you think. So let's start off with the relationship between police and fire personnel. How would you characterize that these days?
Oh, Jason, start on that one.
I think we have a great working relationship. There are so many incidents that we respond to on a daily basis where the personnel interact with each other, and I think they really have a great sense of who's going to do what, who's going to do this, and it really seems to be seamless, especially on a lot of the incidents that both of our agencies respond to.
Is there anything you want to add there?
Yeah, I mean, historically we've had very close relationships and worked well together. I mean, everyone's trying to accomplish the goals of their organizations, but to a greater sense, everyone's working together to make the community safer and better. And I think Jason will echo this, that, all of our employees, at least to some level, feel, a dedication, a need, a desire to serve the community. Some greater than others, of course, but I would have to say that there's not a lot of people on the police or fire departments that are not committed to, to serving the public. And that makes our jobs easier, and it makes collaboration easier, quite frankly.
And I think you see that in a lot of different events too around the community, like the bathtub races.
Yep.
Where we compete against one another in friendly competition. And another example is tomorrow morning we're going to do a breakfast for all the first responders, for fire personnel and police personnel. So there's so many different events throughout the year that we're able to really kind of spend time together in fellowship, and I think that's what really makes everything harmonious and work well together throughout, responding to other events in our city.
Yes, and the rivalry is a friendly one, like the Battle of the Badge and other events. And,
Sure.
and many of those events raise money for local charities, which is another way that you invest in the community.
Yes, ma'am, it is. And people need to be able to see their police officers and their firefighters out in the community. And it's even better if they see them, having fun together, doing things to benefit just the general citizenry. I mean, the Boo with the Badge that we do every year is a great collaborative event as well. I mean, it's a huge thing. We had somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 people there this year. So, that's a phenomenal amount of people coming out for an event. It underlies the intent of the police officers and the firefighters. It's to make the community better. And, I don't say that tongue-in-cheek in any way, shape, or form. That they really are committed to that. And, I think Hot Springs is better for their presence.
Yes.
And it certainly illustrates your service role too, whether it's handing out trick-or-treats or the other events that you do. You're clearly illustrating that your mission is to serve the public. Let's talk a little bit about your chief-to-chief relationship. Do you share information, expertise? Do you get together very often?
Well, sometimes it's just, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening today. And it's just, conversation back and forth. There's not a lot of places where a chief can go that's a safe space. And he's my safe space in a lot of ways, and I believe that I'm his as well. I mean, because everything from personnel problems to dealing with activists in the community to dealing with just your normal everyday grind, having someone to talk to about that understands your position is a great thing. And, Jason's been a sounding board for me on many occasions. And, the same with him confiding in me on things. But yeah, we work together. We trust each other, which is really important. I know that in any type of emergency that he is going to give me everything that he's got. That's his full physical, mental, emotional, and even, spiritual self. I mean, he is going to be there. And so that makes my job better. And in times of crisis, I know I have an ally to fall back on. So, I mean, I think very highly of Jason, and I appreciate, his counsel and his confidence.
Yeah, and I feel the same way about Chief Davis. He is a mentor. He's been fire chief for several years now, and obviously has done a outstanding and amazing job. And I've learned a lot from him, in the last 2 years. And it doesn't seem like I've been in this position for 2 years, but it goes by really quickly. And And I appreciate the guidance and some of the experiences that he has shared as a chief at the fire department. He kind of relays some of those down to me, and I really appreciate his mentorship that he has showed me in the last couple of years. And obviously, I can call him day or night, and I know he's there for me as well.
Well, that certainly comes into play when big events happen to our city. And so one of those was the Confederate Rally. Can you explain what it was like to have your departments work together for that event?
Well, I'll start off. It was, I've been here at the police department for 20 years, and it was the largest event that I have ever participated in, and I think probably the largest event that the city of Hot Springs has really had to oversee. And it was a joint collaboration. And when I say a joint, I'm talking on a local, state, and federal side. Locally, obviously the fire department had a huge help and impact on our operational plan. We stood up our emergency operations center at the Hot Springs Fire Department, and it wasn't only just police and fire in there. It was the other city departments. Each department head throughout the entire city had a representative in our EOC, and that's what makes operations like this successful, when we can all come together with a common goal and a plan and achieve it. And obviously, it turned out to be a very overwhelming success.
It did. The great thing about having the AOC and all of the other cooperative departments together is that you can leverage all of the city's resources during an emergency or something you think is going to be an emergency. And all of those resources working together is a sizable force. And, we just basically multiplied the size of the police department by using the resources that were available in the city.
That's right.
From a standpoint of command, we use people in the fire department to fill lower level positions in the EOC to free his officers up to actually do their jobs in the field. I mean, there were times that, that we delivered water to the police command post. We did other things from a medical standpoint. And we were ready to respond just as the state police were and the other collaborative agencies. And, that was a great plan. A lot of resources put together and in place to deal with any eventuality.
Right. And, obviously, we ensured the citizens' safety and their property. And at the end of the day, we accomplished our task.
And the comments across the board at the conclusion of that event was that Hot Springs shone. They did a fantastic job. Chief Davis, for those that don't understand what the EOC is, can you explain a little bit about how it's set up and
Sure.
how it benefits the community in events like these?
Sure. An emergency operations center allows you to gather all your decision makers in one location. It's not to take command of an incident or incidents. It's there to support the commander in the field. In other words, it provides logistics functions, finance functions. You think finance, how does finance come into play in a large event? Well, all of these things, all of these resources, and keeping those resources running, keeping your people fed, keeping your people in operation, all that has to be paid for. And, if you don't have someone that's tracking the costs, you have no idea how much the event actually costs you. And sometimes that can put you into budgetary jeopardy. And so one of the things we had folks from the finance department there. We had people from fleet service. We had people from sanitation. We had people from public works. Of course, fire was there. We had PIO people. Everyone was there playing a part in supporting the police department in the field. And the good thing about an EOC is that as an event changes, you still have that staff there. Should we say we had a riot in downtown Hot Springs, and the police department gets that under control, well, in the aftermath, you still have to do cleanup. You still have to be able to give medical care to the people that are injured. You still have to deal with all of those issues. When an event occurs, it's not just the event itself, it's the aftermath of the event that's going to continue to cause you budgetary problems. And so, we want to be able to plan, understand how much something's going to cost us, be able to allocate those resources, and be able to meet the needs of the event without breaking our budgets.
And that helps people understand how departments work together to meet all of the needs of a major incident. Thank you for that. Speaking of major incidents, we spoke of one that was maybe a little heavier on the side of law enforcement, the Confederate Rally. But moving backwards in time to the Majestic Fire, that was the fire department front and center handling that incident with the support of many agencies around you. Describe how you collaborated with the police department in that event.
Well, people don't realize it, but the police department had a huge job at that point in time too, trying to reroute traffic, keep the scene under control, and to do those things that were necessary to keep downtown Hot Springs functioning. It was a difficult task. I mean, you know, because you have the fire department with all of their apparatus, not just us, several fire departments with all of their apparatus blocking the streets. You know, dealing with the chaos downtown as far as like people wanting to come in to watch the fire, and there was a huge law enforcement presence. I mean, from a collaborative standpoint, you had state police, you had Game and Fish, Garland County Sheriff. You had many different entities and agencies that were there doing traffic control. You know, and they were great to do whatever we needed them to do. I mean, the police department, at that point in time, there were times that police officers went and brought water and things like that to the scene to, you know, to take care of the needs of the firefighters. From a firefighting standpoint, that was probably the most trying event in the history of Hot Springs Fire Department. I mean, it was a continuous firefighting operation, you know, that went on for, 72 hours, including overhaul. So, I mean, it was something that really taxed our resources. But we set up a localized EOC and command post there on the Majestic site. Garland County brought a trailer in. The state of Arkansas brought in resources. And, you know, in that particular instance, we ran that scene from that location. It worked out pretty well. You know, I think that it was a successful firefight. No one was hurt during the process of those 72 hours. So that means the incident was fairly well managed. But, you know, that's just another instance where we collaborated together to deal with the problem and to bring it under control. And, you know, we had great support from the PD and other entities during that operation.
Absolutely. I can remember that because I was on scene like you were for that 72 hours. And obviously, you know, we're there to support the fire department. You know, like Chief Davis said, their apparatuses, you know, off of a major highway. They're off of Park Avenue in the central corridor. You know, we had to divert traffic, and you know, we were there to support them. You know, that was their fire. They were the primary agency involved with that. So we're here to lend that support.
You had a lot of onlookers and curiosity seekers throughout that time, didn't you, Chief?
We did. We had a
You
lot
had
of
to
people
held
after
back.
the fire. I can
We did.
remember that we were trying to erect temporary barricades
Yeah.
around the structure because people wanted to cross over
They
and
wanted to get a
retrieve
brick. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that was the first time we ever had problems with drones, too.
That's
Remember
right. I remember that.
that? Yeah, that was pretty
Drones
interesting.
emerged on the scene.
They
They
did,
did.
My
yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
Well, going on to another interesting area where your two departments work closely together is the development of, and soon the implementation of, a public safety radio communication system for our city. What an achievement. And we know that that took tremendous amount of work behind the scenes to get to the point where our board of directors stepped up to the plate and approved this system, which will be implemented soon. And tell us a little bit about this collaborative effort that took place.
Well, you know, and I'm just going to be very brief to talk about that. But I think there are really three groups of individuals that need recognition for everything that they've done to make this happen. And I'm going to start obviously with the board of directors. You know, they passed the 2.6 millage for 2 years, and you know, to assist in funding this. And you know, I appreciate that they saw the need, and you know, and they understood what our first responders, the police and fire, what they needed to do their job as far as communication efforts. And number two, I want to praise our city manager, Mr. David Frazier. You know, he took the initiative. He saw the problem that we presented to him, and he said, you know what, we've got to fix this. And you know, he was a very strong advocate for this radio system, and
He was.
you know, we appreciate him really backing us up and
It
really
wouldn't have
pushing
happened
this
without
forward.
him.
No, No, it wouldn't have. So he obviously deserves that recognition. And then obviously Chief Davis. Chief Davis is not only, his expertise is not only in fire, but he also has a vast knowledge of radio systems and equipment. He's been around it for so many years, and he knows the intricacies of how technology works. And I really appreciate him and everything that he did as far as chairing our committee. I don't know where we would be without Chief Davis, and I appreciate the hours and hours and hours of research and conference calls that he's put in to our soon-to-be new radio system.
Well, thank you, Jason. I appreciate that. It's been a long road. We actually began this back in 2012. We began talking about it. 2013, we actually began to make an effort towards it, and we went down a lot of different avenues trying to find ways for financing and collaboration and cooperation with different entities. We finally went full circle and came back to the point to where that we need to just develop a system that will allow interoperability with other entities, but a system that the city of Hot Springs itself owned. And we wanted to leverage all of the available technology that was out there. Wanted to do those things that were necessary to make sure that the firefighters and police officers used a system that would support them, and during those times of crisis would not fail them. And those were the goals that we entered this thing with. And when Jason became chief, it was something that we began to have a lot of conversation about, and we began to work on the problem. As Jason said, when Mr. Frazier came here, we gained an ally. Someone who would actually, stand before the board of directors and say, we from a moral standpoint, we must do this. And he did treat it as a moral issue. And, he for a new city manager, he put himself in a dangerous position. My hat's off to him. I mean, you come in and you tell your board of directors, oh, by the way, we need to spend $5 million and we need to do it right away. That takes quite a bit of courage and fortitude, and he did just that. And my hat's off to him, and none of this would have occurred without him.
Well, it's that kind of conviction that gets the big things done in our city.
That's
right.
As we wrap up the program, is there anything else that you all would like to add? I think you've shed light in a number of areas that you work together. People may not realize that that's what it takes to serve our city. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, Hot Springs is a great place, and everyone needs to work together to make it even better. Sometimes we allow our own personal pettiness to get in the way of the greater good of the community. And I just ask everyone to come together, come behind the city's leadership, and let's do some things that will make the community better, like the North Woods. That's going to be a phenomenal thing for the city of Hot Springs and its people from a recreational standpoint. We have a great opportunity in the Majestic property. Let's get behind city government. Let's make this work, and let's make Hot Springs just a better place. There are other things that are going on with the Malvern Initiative on redoing Malvern Avenue, all kinds of neat things that are out there, the downtown redevelopment, our crime rates going down. So many good things out there. Let's get behind all of these efforts, and let's just make Hot Springs a better place.
Yeah, and I agree with Chief Davis. It takes every one of us working together. We can't, police and fire or other city departments, we can't do it by ourselves.
There's no way.
The city of Hot Springs is way too big. It takes a vested interest in every citizen to make our community better and increase the quality of life. And and I'm proud to be a resident of Hot Springs.
Absolutely.
This is home to me, and I'm sure this is where I will spend my last days of my life. And there's a really I have an immense amount of pride in being a Hot Springs resident, and
Absolutely.
We just ask the citizens to support us and assist us in any way possible.
We're Hot Springs proud, and we hope everybody else out there will be too.
And with that, you can see why the community of Hot Springs has extraordinary support for fire and police. They help in countless ways, volunteering to help both departments, and they show that they truly are behind their police and fire departments. I think we're a city that truly enjoys that, don't you think, gentlemen?
Yes, ma'am.
Strong
Absolutely.
support from our community, so we thank you for that. And next week, we'll bring you more city news.